Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to today's webinar on Meet Your More Advanced Reporting Needs with Interactive Custom Reports in Sage Intacct. I'm Sarah Novak, Marketing Manager at LBMC Technology Solutions. I just wanted to go over a few housekeeping items real quick before we get started. All the phone lines have been muted to eliminate any background noise. If you experience any technical difficulties or need anything throughout the webinar, please let us know using the chat panel or Q&A. We will be taking questions throughout today's webinar. Feel free to submit at any time and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. And you can submit your question via the question panel. This webinar is eligible for CPE. In order to qualify, you must stay on the entire session and just answer any questions that are asked. And we'll also be recording this session and sending that out in a few days' time. So at this time, I'd like to introduce you to Angela Payne. Angela serves as our Senior Intact Consultant with LBMC Technology Solutions, and she has over 14 years experience in financial and tax accounting, payroll tax services, and financial management. So thanks again for joining us, and Angela, I'll now turn it over to you.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, thank you guys for attending our session today. Hopefully you'll find this very interesting and you'll get some information and have lots of questions at the end to be able to hopefully expand your flexibility with some reporting options that are available within Intacct. So first, I'd just like to talk a little bit about what Interactive Custom Report Writer is. Interactive Custom Report Writer allows you to kind of build basic reports a little bit quicker. For those of you who have used the Custom Report Writer and the Platform Services application with Intacct, you know that sometimes trying to make those decisions of which columns you need to add or which fields, you know, where you need to start, what objects you need to start with, sometimes that's a little tedious, and just kind of working through that wizard that's available from within Platform Services is a little bit frustrating sometimes. So Interactive Custom Report Writer kind of allows you to build your reports a little bit quicker. It is an extension of Platform Services, so it is not, it does not provide additional functionality for creating financial reports. It's just going to be an additional functionality extension of Platform Services custom reports. It enables the user to add pivot tables, also filter your data a little bit easier than you can within the Platform Services custom reports. You'll see, I'll do a demo here in just a little bit, and you'll see that we can easily drag and drop columns and fields to be able to make the presentation of your report a little bit cleaner, a little bit easier, more user-friendly. It offers the ability to do grouping and subtotaling of your columns, and then also additional formatting. The formatting is very similar to what you would see and what you have available within Excel to date. You can add calculations. So you'll see that you can add calculations to reports in the Interactive Custom Report Writer, very similar to the functions and calculations that you can add within Excel. You can, at any point in time when you're building reports in Interactive Custom Report Writer, you can look at a live preview. So as you're building the report, instead of having to save the report and then go out and actually run the report like you do in the Platform Services reports, you can actually see the live report as you're building it. So you can see what data is actually being returned as you're adding columns and as you're moving things around. And then with the purchase of the subscription to Interactive Custom Report Writer, you are also provided over 60 standard reports. Now these standard reports are defined based on the applications that you are subscribed to. So there's a variety of different areas, and I'll show you later on in the presentation what the different areas, how many reports are available within each area. It's like accounts payable, accounts receivable, things like that. So if you're not subscribed and not using accounts receivable, then you wouldn't have those reports accessible through Interactive Custom Report Writer, but you would have the others. And they're continuing, Intacct is continuing to add more standard reports that are available within that application. So I want to talk a little bit about how the differing reporting tools that are available within Intacct, how, you know, what the differences are. So those of you who have been using Intacct for a while, you know, we have the Financial Report Writer, which is basically going to help you prepare your balance sheet, your income statements, your profit loss, things like that. We also have the standard reports. So when your environment was originally provisioned, you had the available several standard reports, so that way you didn't have to start building your financial reports immediately. You also have a lot of subledger reports, so you have like your AR aging reports, trial balances, AP aging reports that are available, so you don't have to build those either. Then we move over into the platform services or the custom report writer tool. So platform services is also available with your subscription, no additional cost. This allows you to kind of build those non-traditional, kind of out-of-the-box type of, or not out-of-the-box, but your non-traditional, non-financial types of reports. So this could be list reports. In financial or in the custom report writer, we can build like custom AP aging reports. So we can take the existing AP aging reports, add columns to that report, and kind of create that customization. You can also create additional like invoicing reports. So if you're using order entry, you can create additional invoicing reports through the system. We've also created like reports to be able to track use tax on AP bills. So we can add custom fields to an AP bill that can be checked, and then within platform services, there's a custom report writer, then you can create a report to be able to track the use tax applicability. So with those three types of reporting tool sets that are available, Intacct then provided the option to purchase a subscription to the Interactive Custom Report Writer. So with the Interactive Custom Report Writer, like I said, it's an extension of the platform services functionality. So it's not meant to replace any of the financial report writing. It's just an extension of your platform services custom report functionality. The biggest difference between the custom report writer and the interactive custom report writer is that there isn't a wizard. And you'll see that when I do my demo here in just a little bit, that if you're familiar with platform services, you actually have a wizard that you're going to have to actually click and go through it step by step, right, to be able to build your report. And it's a series that you have to kind of follow. You can go back and forth, but sometimes whenever you click one step, it will open up additional steps that would be available. With Interactive Custom Report Writer, you don't have the thought of having to do a series of steps in a specific order to build your reports. You build your reports kind of on the fly, and you also have that real-time preview, so you can actually see how it looks as you're building a report. The second thing that you may notice whenever you're choosing your data with Interactive Custom Report Writer, in that one as well as in the Platform Services Custom Report Writer, you have to choose what your primary object is. So within Platform Services, you may choose AP Bill Detail, you may choose Order Entry Sales Invoice. So sometimes trying to identify which object that you need to have as your primary data source may be a little more difficult in the Custom Report Writer than it is within Interactive. Within the Interactive Custom Report Writer, Intacct is kind of built, you still have to choose a primary source object, but it's built folders and subfolders that kind of help make it less confusing as you're trying to choose which one you think will provide the information that you need on your report. All right. All right, so with that being said, Sarah's going to present a polling question for everyone, and we'll leave it up for about a minute, just kind of get some feedback for us of, do you currently have a person who's dedicated to writing custom reports on your team? You'll have the options of yes, myself, yes, another team member, yes, internal IT team, or no. If everyone just take a moment and reply to that poll, you should see that presented on your screen. And we'll give you about a minute to do that. Okay, so thank you guys for doing that. All right, so now we'll talk a little bit about building a report using Interactive Custom Report Writer. So these reports are very easy to build, very user-friendly to build. Like I said, you have the drag and drop functionality. So you'll notice on the left-hand side of this screen where we have the objects that are available. So like I said, you have to still choose a primary source object when you are starting to build your reports. You have to kind of know what area of Intacct that you're wanting to start building your report from. But you'll notice that there are actually folders listed there instead of it just being a list of collapsed or expanded fields with column names in those. So So you see here in this example, there's AP bill detail or AP detail, and then you have like attributes. And when I show you the demo, there's additional folders that are available there. This makes it a little bit easier to identify and choose what you're looking for. So that way it has all the dimensions together. It has your attributes from your AP detail together. Makes it a little bit easier for that. You have the drag and drop functionality. So as you choose these differing reporting areas, so if you wanted to add like the 1099 AP detail to your report, you could easily drag and drop it to the right-hand side of the screen. So it's kind of a canvas is what Intacct references as, the canvas where you're building your report. So you could drag and drop it, or you could double-click that 1099 field and it would add it to your report as well. Within the report, you have some additional smart menus that provide additional functionality for filtering and showing totals and things like that. So you'll notice in this example here, we have the sort functionality. That would be for each individual column. You can have a sorting of each individual column, so you can have multiple columns sorted in multiple ways. You can show totals and grand totals at the bottoms of the different columns. You can exclude information. You can have it automatically identify, say, the top 10 or bottom 10 of a list of information. And then you'll also see here that it's presenting live data. So you're always going to see the live data, so you know exactly what you are adding to your report. And you can easily move things around, so you're not having to save it, go back in, run it, and then see what additional information you need to add to it. All right, some things that you may want to consider when you're starting to build these reports. So, obviously you want to select the correct reporting area, okay? So in the reporting area of Interactive Custom Report Writer, you'll notice that I've chosen here AP bills. Intacct then also provides additional information there to let you know kind of what builds are available, so that way you'll know if that's the correct reporting area that you want to start with. The recommendation is usually to start with the lowest level of detail that contains the data that you want, and then kind of work your way up and build from bottom up on these types of reports. Because if you start with like AP bill detail, then you always have access to the AP header information from that reporting area. So as you choose different reporting areas, then the additional information that's listed there, where it says AP bill transaction header and detail including dimensions, that's going to change depending on what the reporting area is. So that kind of helps you as you're building your reports identify what starting point you want to be at. So another thing to consider is just to kind of validate that all data is present that you need in your report, obviously, because you may build a report or you may have someone else building a report, so you want to make sure that everything that you're expecting to see is going to be available in that report. And then you also want to preview your reports. So make sure that you preview them often. Interactive Custom Report Writer allows you to do that as you're building it. All right, so what are reporting areas? So we've talked quite a bit about this. It's the areas that focus on a specific portion of your data and kind of determines what information you want to add to your report. So you're going to select that first, and then it's going to provide these differing folders and subfolders to be able to choose the information that you want presented, right? So the folders kind of organize the attributes and the measure columns. So you'll notice that just below the AP bill detail folder, I have an attributes column, so that's going to be the information that is actually listed in the AP bill detail entry section of an AP bill. So it would have your GL account, it would have your dollar amounts, things like that, right? The dimensions are just as they are. So any dimensions you're using, you can very easily click on that folder and actually see them. So you're not having to choose, like in the Platform Services Custom Report Writer, where you may have various different expandable options and you can see the same dimension multiple different times. You're not exactly sure which one to choose. This one kind of puts all your dimensions in one place. So that way you just click on your dimensions folder and you can see all your dimensions individually. You also have a measures column. So the measures column basically gives you your quantities, it gives you your dollar amounts from within your AP bill detail. And then the related objects. The related objects could be information that is presented in your AP bill header, right? You could also get to your vendor information from the related objects. So it's very easy, much more organized than you have available in the standard custom report writer. All right. So another area is just being able to add column filters. Now this screen here provides a lot of different information, but these are all different options of filters that can be applied to each individual column in your report. So you'll notice that you have some filters for sorting, right? You also have some filters that allow you to say, okay, I want to keep only my top 10 or my bottom 10 or my top 20 and my bottom 25. So you can easily choose those, and you're not having to write any kind of formulas in Excel to be able to map that information and be able to narrow that information down. You also have additional filters that are available. You can see just below that of members where total paid is greater than, or where it's paid is less than, right? So you have all of those different variables that you can choose without having to write any type of formulas in Excel to be able to do that, okay? So you'll see here that with the filters that were selected in these various boxes, then this is actually returned the top 5 unpaid invoices by the customers on this report, okay? So it's just click of a button, and you have all of those filters in place. So you're not having to actually choose formulas to put within an Excel document to be able to narrow this down and filter this down any further. Then if you decided that you didn't want to have all of those filters on in your report, then you'll see that there's an option to remove all steps. So you can very easily click that button and it will clear all of those out, and then you can always start over. So that's another good thing about Interactive Custom Report Writer is that as you're building, you can always take something away and then very easily add other pieces in. So it's not a very difficult process. Like I said, you've not built a lot of formulas that are included in the fields that you may have to delete and then rebuild them later on. You just click the button. So that way it's easy to kind of narrow down your information. Okay. You can also set up your reports to have drill down functionality, right? So for those of you who have used the Platform Services Custom Report Writer, you'll know that in any of the fields that have the little green looking square, if you choose that field, then it would allow you to actually drill down into that field within your report. You have that same type of functionality within the Custom Report Writer, Interactive Custom Report Writer. You can set it up to where you can actually drill down into sales invoice document. You can actually drill down into employee information, just like you would in any other kind of report, but you have many more options to be able to achieve that level of detail that you want to see. So in this example here, and it's still going to be the same as with any other report, those drill down fields will appear in a blue font, a blue colored font. So that way you know that you can click on that. It's going to actually display them the detail. So in this one here, you see that it displayed the sales invoice detail to be able to look at that from within your Interactive Custom Report Writer. All right, so we have a second polling question. This question here, are you currently exporting reports from Intacct and manually creating calculations and pivot tables in Excel each month? And it's just a yes or no. We'll leave the poll up for just a moment so that you can respond. All right, thank you guys for participating and providing responses to that. All right, so I've mentioned a few times about being able to use Excel functions and calculations within this new tool. So you'll see in this example here that we've actually placed an if statement within the report to be able to do a calculation in another column. So this is saying, you know, if the payment method is a credit card, then display the credit card description, you know, else display the bank name. So by putting that if statement in there, then on your report, you'll see in the second snippet there that it's actually displaying either the credit card description or the bank name, right? So you can very easily create the if statements. You'll notice that the red square there at the bottom left-hand corner of the calculation box, when you click on that, that actually provides basically all of the same Excel functionality as far as functions and formulas, right? That you can have. You can do concatenate, you can do if statements, you can do multiple if statements, right? So you can have kind of a string of that. You can do aggregates, and I'll show you some of those additional functions that are available once we get into the demo. But basically, just about any of your standard Excel functions and formulas, you can also use within the Interactive Custom Report Writer. All right. So you can also add calculation columns. So if you needed to add a column and then determine the days to pay in this example, right? So you have the bill number, the total due, you have the due date and the date that was actually fully paid. Then you can create a calculation within this column and name it, days to pay, whatever you would like to call it. You can actually name that column and then put in what the calculation is, and then it will do that all the way down that column for you. You kind of just create a specific column for that. When you are creating some of these columns, you also have the options to choose them to be hidden, right? So if you need to create a calculation column, then do another calculation that's based off of the results of that column, you can do that with an Interactive Custom Report Writer. You may not want to present that first column in your report, but you still need it to be able to form that secondary calculation column. So this calculation here, you'll notice that the square at the top looks like a little ruler. Then that's going to be your calculation. So you'll see that these icons are available within the Interactive Custom Report Writer to kind of help you identify, what you're doing for each column. So that's always going to be your calculation columns. As far as the names that you need to have available within your calculation, you'll see that we have various columns that are listed down at the bottom that, when the AP bill when paid. So even though it may not be a column that is listed in your report, you still have those reporting areas available on the left-hand side. So you could still use information from a column that's not listed in your report within a calculation if you need to do so. For this example here, we had chosen a column that has the AP bill when paid, right? So date fully paid is the name of that column. So we clicked on the columns listing at the bottom beside the filter and the variable, and then it presented all of the names of the columns that are currently in your report, and you just click on date fully paid. In between the quotation, the double quotation marks, you see that there's a minus sign, right? So you can have those different options at the bottom. You'll see that we have the plus, we have a minus, the multiplication, division, percent. You have parentheses, so then that way you can actually build more advanced formulas, right? And identify your order of operations within your formulas and your calculations. And then you also, that last double straight line, that's for concatenate. So sometimes you may have some fields that you may actually pull in, say, the vendor ID in one column, the vendor name in a separate column, but you want it presented in your report concatenated together. So you would actually choose the concatenate functionality, choose those individual columns, and then it would present those two together. And you could still have a divider in between them. There's a dash or space to where you could actually present it together within one column and then hide the two original columns from your report. So that's just some additional calculations that you can do within your report. A little bit more extended functionality than what you have within the Platform Services Custom Report Writer. All right. Then Interactive Custom Report Writer allows you to also add pivot tables. Okay, pivot tables are pretty amazing within the report writer. So in this example here, you can see how it has the differing locations listed at the top. Then it has your departments under each of those locations. Then you have totals by year under each one of those. I'll show you an example of one of the standard reports that's available within the Interactive Custom Report Writer here shortly, to where it's kind of a similar type of report. And when you click on the actual year, like if I clicked on the 2015, then it would actually expand that out to show me by quarter, those invoice dollars, and then I could select those individual quarters and it would expand out by month. Then I could select that month and it would expand out by days. So you can actually have the pivot tables go all the way down to show you what day that these invoices are actually generated on. And that's one of the standard reports that's available within when you purchase the subscription to the Interactive Custom Report Writer. So it's very quick and easy analysis of your data being able to use the pivot tables within Intacct itself instead of exporting all of this data out to Excel and building pivot tables outside the system. So standard reports, I keep talking about the standard reports that are available within the Interactive Custom Report Writer. So currently, there are 13 standard reports for accounts payable, 12 for accounts receivable, 1 for cash management, 4 for contracts, 6 for time and expenses, 12 for the general ledger, 4 for projects, 7 for purchasing, and 5 for order entry. As I mentioned, depending on the subscriptions to different applications you may have within your environment, you may not be able to see all of these reports. Okay, so if you're not currently subscribed to contracts and using contracts, the contracts reports will not be available for you within the Interactive Custom Report Writer, right? Any of these reports you can duplicate, so you can start with them just like I usually recommend to any of our customers when I'm doing report training with them with just the standard financial reports or any of the other standard reports like your AP aging and things like that. Start with what's there and then build up on it, right? You don't want to recreate the wheel all the time. So if some of these reports are pretty close to what you're looking for, then you can always duplicate those and then add additional columns or take away columns as needed to be able to get to the end result that you're looking for. With that being said, so with Interactive Custom Report Writer, there are actually 2 types of subscriptions with Intacct. So there's one that's a run-only version that would allow any type of user in your environment, whether it's an employee user or business user, to be able to view these reports. You just do not have the ability to create or edit any of the reports. Okay, so you would just be able to view these reports. And then you could have LBMC actually build additional reports for you, and you have those as visibility within your system as well. The second type of subscription is just full access. So that allows any of your business user licensed users to be able to edit and create reports within your environment. And these subscriptions are for the entire environment, so it's not per user. So if you have 10 business users and you purchase the full access Interactive Custom Report Writer, then every one of those business users would be able to have this additional capability as long as you set their permissions to give them access to it. And the same thing with the run-only option. That is across your entire environment. So that subscription is not per user. It would be for the entire environment. All right. So I'm moving on to the demo in just a moment. I want to kind of show you a couple of different things of how easy it is to build reports within Interactive Custom Report Writer. You know, you've got the drag and drop functionality, how you can create some calculations, you add columns, filter data, group data, things like that. So let me switch to my demo environment. Just a second. All right. So now you should see my Intacct environment. And as I mentioned, this is a demo environment. So the Interactive Custom Reports themselves, you would find that application under the Reports application, so you see the Interactive Custom Reports. Now permissions for Interactive Custom Report is actually located within your platform services permissions, right, or customization services. So if you go to platform services, go to users, go to your users, and I'm going to look at my roles here. But if I actually looked at my subscriptions within my users, you'll actually see the access to the Interactive Custom Report Writer within platform services. So you see here Interactive Custom Reports, you have list view, add, edit, delete. Now, like I said, if you purchase the run-only subscription, then you would only be able to view those reports, right? If you purchase the full access, you'd be able to add, edit, delete any of those reports. But those permissions are within the platform services application, and so you have full control over who actually has access to be able to view those reports as well. So we'll go back and you go to Reports, Interactive Custom Reports. So when you click on the Interactive Customer Reports, the first screen that comes up, these will be your custom reports that you've built yourself or had, say, LVMC built for you. They would be listed here. If I click on the report library, then this will actually be all of the reports that are currently available in this environment. So you'll see here that I have 64. Intacct is continuing to build additional reports and add those. They just automatically add those to the environments of anyone who has purchased a subscription to Interactive Customer Report Writer. So there's not anything that you have to do on your side to get access to those additional reports. They just automatically add them to your environment. So you may periodically see, that number would increase just based on that. But these are several of the standard reports that would be available. And a lot of these, I think, are very beneficial. So I'll show you a few of these, and then I'll show you some of the demo. So a couple of the reports that I actually like to show to people is this AP Vendor Aging Summary with Bill Details report. So if I run this report, what this report will show you is the detail of your aging as well as a summary. So you can have it all within one report on one screen, right? So you'll have, this is my aging summary, right? So you see by vendor here, what the dollar amounts are. To the right-hand side of this, though, I actually have the options to choose these individual vendors, and then it will actually list those individual invoices here, okay? So you can actually build upon this and make these invoices to where you could drill down to them to actually see the details. So you have that drill down functionality. And this is one of the standard reports, so it doesn't have that automatically built into it. But you could actually add that, duplicate it and actually add that to your report. So any of these vendors that I change to, it'll easily show me then what the actual open invoices are that would tie out to these balances over here in one quick, easy report. Okay. You'll notice that you still have at the top of this screen, you have the process and store options, right? So if you wanted to run this report or some other reports offline and then come back and view them later, you have that option. You have the email option available. You can add these to dashboards. You can also memorize these, okay? So you can easily add the Interactive Customer Report reports to your dashboards just like you would any other report that's in an Intacct. So that's one report I like to show. Also, something that's very similar is the AR Customer Aging Report. It's a very similar format, but I think these provide a lot of information on one screen for analysis of your open invoices. So this one, you'll see you have your standard summary aging on the left-hand side. Then you have the same functionality on the right-hand side, to where you can easily choose a customer. It's going to show you the dates of the invoices, the invoice numbers that are currently outstanding, all within one screen. You see that you have totals at the bottom. You'll notice that there are also colors on here. So Interactive Customer Report Writer allows you to add background fill colors to your reports. So you could have different colors in each one of these columns. It's like very similar to Excel functionality, right? So that way you can make your reports look pretty. So one of the reports that I was discussing earlier in my presentation was the invoices with the pivot table. Fine. So we got it. AR Invoices Pivot Table Report. So if I run this report, and you will see here, this is where I was looking at earlier, where it has the customers listed down the left-hand side, left-hand side. These are the differing locations across this row here. These are your differing departments across this row. As I expand these columns out, then you'll notice that it had the total, and now it's broken it down by year for me, right? So I can then further expand these out, and now it's going to break it down by quarter, and then I can additionally further expand that out by month, and I continue to go, continue to drill down basically, and it shows me that this $18,000 invoice was actually entered on the 30th. The entry date on the invoice is the 30th of June. So this is one of the standard reports that's available, so you don't have to build this report. Obviously, you would already have your locations and your departments in the system. You'd have your customers in there. So any invoices that you have listed in there would appear in this report as well. So you're not having to actually build this report. It's one of the standard reports that's available. All right. So some of the other reports, you see that we have PO, purchase activity summary. We have PO purchases by item. So these are just additional standard reports that are available. You have, obviously, you have a lot of filtering options. So just like any other reporting that you have available within Intacct, you can add additional prompts and filters. So we'll look at that when we look at a report in just a few moments that has been built, that you have options to add filters. Another thing that I like to look at on those reports, and this is if you had just a view only as well. So if I was looking at this report and say I wanted to look at the POs that had a specific transaction price. This is a very short list, but I may have a list that had hundreds of POs here. I can easily take this column within the viewing of it, drag it up here. You'll notice that this table comes with this table prompt, and drop it. So now I have the functionality, the options to be able to change these dollar amounts. And I can put it back by just right-clicking, and I can move it back to columns. You see it, put it back in place. So the same thing with department. If I wanted to bring department up here, so now I can actually filter this based on my varying departments very quickly and easily. And I didn't have to go into the actual build of the report to be able to add this prompt on the screen. So I can very easily, filter things. If I wanted to put that back, I right-click, move it back to the columns again. Okay, so you can do that with any of these columns. So if I wanted to say item ID, same type of thing, I drag and drop it. I can very easily filter them by item ID. Okay. So drag and drop is a big key here. If I wanted to rearrange the orders of any of these, okay, and this is with any that you build or any of the standard ones, I can also drag and drop. If I wanted to put my vendor name there, I just drag and drop it. If I wanted to move my item name over here, I drag and drop. Okay. You'll notice as I hover over these, I have sort ascending and sort descending, right? So I can easily click on that. It's very easily going to quickly sort it for me. Okay. You have options within this sort, right, to sort in various manners. You have options to exclude the column, include the column, and then move the column. So that's all within just the view. This is actually viewing the report to where you can make these changes just kind of on the fly to look at things, and then you can easily memorize the report. Okay. All right. So we'll look at the project hours by project manager report. This one is kind of a fun report if you are managing budget hours on projects. So when you look at this report, and once again, this is a standard report that's available, you can actually add in colored icons to this report to kind of show you over budget, under budget type of functionality. So you'll notice here that you have your budget hours, your actual hours, and your over under budget. And then this actually puts an icon of some sort in there so that way you can easily see what's good, what's bad, right? And then you can have the additional options here. So you can have this one sorted by project manager, shows you all of the projects, beginning, end date, customer name, project type. So you can add additional fields to this report, but having the flexibility to be able to present some more visual icons and data in this manner is very, very beneficial, right? And there are different ones. There are like red circles, there are up arrows, down arrows, things like that. So you have a variety of different types of icons that you can put in here to make it just visually pleasing and visually to be able to analyze it. Okay, and like I said, that's still one of the standard reports. All right, so now we'll go back and look at a report that I built to kind of show you here. So when you go in to create a new report, like I said, you would click Add. It's going to give you the option to choose your reporting area. Just a second. But you'll choose your reporting area, and then as I mentioned and as I showed you on the screenshot, that when you choose that reporting area, it kind of tells you what fields are available within that reporting area. I apologize for my Intacct being a little slow. Try this again. Add. Okay, here we go. Maybe. Okay, so you would choose your reporting area. You also have the option to create from existing report. So if you choose create from existing report, then you would just choose your report that you're wanting to create it from, and then put, add whatever your name is. They create new report. These are all of the different reporting areas. So as I mentioned before, if I chose, say, GL detail, it will tell me here what's available to be able to choose from as far as the different folders, right, and the attributes that you would have available at that point. You'll notice also that you have the option to include standard reporting periods. So that would be your current month, current year to date. You have that functionality available in Interactive Custom Report Writer, as well as filtering, between two specific dates. So I'll go back out of this. I want to go into this report here. So once you name your report and you go to the next step, then this is basically going to be the screen that you will see. So you'll notice here that you have a Define tab, a Refine tab, and a Prompts tab. So the Define tab is basically where you add the columns that you want to have displayed in your report. All right, so you can have the same column may be in there twice because you may be using it for something else. So these are the folders that I was talking about. So as I expand this out, then you'll see the attributes, dimensions. I can expand this out. You'll see I have a little bit more detail that's available. Right, so I'm looking at the AP bill or the AP detail. So then it's showing me all of the fields that are available there. If I expand out the dimensions, you can see actually all the dimensions in one place, right? So you're not having to go through a lot of different expansion areas to figure out which dimension I need to click on. For your measures, then these are going to be your dollar amounts, right? Your quantities would be showing up here. And the related objects are going to be basically anything else. So like maybe things that may be in your header, your entity, allocations, things like that are kind of related to this AP bill information so that you can easily get to it. Now to add columns to your report, as I said, you can drag and drop. So I can drag and drop, right? I can also double click and it will add it to the report. I can easily then move these around. So if you'll notice that there's a gray box or gray line that appears, that's where it would drop it, right? So I can easily drag those around. On the Define tab, you also have the options to do sorting, edit formulas. So if you wanted to do a concatenate formula within that column, you could edit the formulas. You have column properties that are available. So this is where you could have different background colors, right? These are the images like I was talking about on that project report where you can select different images. So if I selected this one, you see I have all of these that are available that I could choose from. I have arrows. I have circles, right? I have all of these different options here. So you can just add a little bit more color to your reports, right? You can add borders to your reports. You have column formats, so it depends on how you're wanting to present this. So you can create custom headers. So if I wanted this to just say vendor name, then I could just easily change that and say vendor name. The data format is how you're wanting it formatted. So this could be your fonts, right? What type of font you might have it presented in that column. You have some conditional formatting. So in this example, if we were thinking back to that project report where it's showing over and under budget, then we could say, okay, if the budget is +1 or greater, then present this specific icon, right? If it's less than 0, then present this specific icon. This is where you would add those in here, okay? And you have some interactions here, so be able to actually drill down into fields. Okay? So you have all of that, and that's per column, okay? You have those available per column. So you see here where I changed the name of this column, now it just says vendor name, right? You can add filters per column, okay? So you add filters here, so you have all of these different options for filters, right? And then if I said, you know, is between, then it's going to give me the options then to choose my is between, right? To be able to add that. That's per column. You could have different filters. So there's another filtering option down here at the bottom to where this would be basically a filter that would apply to the entire report. So if you wanted to add filters here that were applicable to the entire report, you could easily do that here instead of having to filter each individual column, okay? So that is your Define tab. So then if we go to the Refine tab, it's going to have those same columns that are listed here, but you're actually seeing data come through, right? So you're actually seeing, as you're building the report, you're actually seeing the information here, how it's going to present, because I also had these background colors that were appearing here. You can move columns around here. So if I wanted, these are the two columns I just added just a few moments ago, but if I wanted to move these around, I can easily drag and drop them on this tab. I could drag and drop them on the other tab as well, okay? I have the options here, like I showed you when I was running the report, to say keep only. Say if I only wanted to keep the top 10 based on aging of 1 to 30 days. I don't have to create any type of formula within Excel to be able to get that level of data to me, right? That level of detail to me. You have all of these other options as well, where the amount is less than. All of these are built into the Custom Report Writer, so you're not having to create all of these different options for filtering. You can do subtotals. You can do grand totals at the bottom. So if I had multiple vendors and I wanted to do a subtotal by each individual vendor, then I would click the subtotals. They would add that in. I would also have the grand totals, right? Moving columns, excluding columns, all of that's available on this screen. Now you can add prompts from within the screen as well, just like I was showing you when I ran the report earlier. You can actually drag this information up here, and you're going to get the same type of similar table prompts to be able to put a prompt into that table very quickly and easy just by dragging it up. If you wanted to add more prompts, then you could go to the Prompts tab. And on this one, you could actually lay out all of your different prompts that you wanted to add to your report. These would be available whenever you go to the application. So if you publish this report to, say, the AP module, and you went there to your custom reports and ran it from there, then you would have these prompts would be available within that first screen for you to be able to filter the information at that time. All right. Let me go back to my presentation now. Okay. All right. So we talked about some of these different areas, deploying it, adding prompts, grouping data together. So that kind of finalizes my presentation today. And if you have more information about personal subscription, then I would recommend that you contact Deanna Brooks at her email address, dbrooks@lbmc.com. And I was going to check and see, are there any questions at this time?
Yes, Angela, we actually have a question about what types of subscriptions are available for the Interactive Custom Report Writer.
Mm-hmm. All right, so there are two different types of subscriptions. One of those is the run-only subscription. The run-only subscription allows your business users, your employee type users, your project manager users, any of those types of users to be able to view any of the reports that are in the system. So those could be the standard reports. Those could be custom reports that may be built by Intacct, or not by Intacct, but by LBMC, right? So you can view those. So you also have then the full access subscriptions. So the full access subscription allows your business users to be able to build and customize any of the standard reports that are out there, but it also still allows anyone, any of your other types of users, whether it's project managers or employees, to be able to view those reports. And as I mentioned, those subscriptions expand across your entire environment, so it's not per user license that you have to purchase these. It's actually for your entire environment. Are there any other questions?
There is. This question is, if you purchase the run-only version, how much does it cost for LBMC to write the reports for us, since we won't be able to build or customize reports?
Right. So that's kind of dependent upon the complexity of the report. So typically the approach that LBMC takes when we're building custom reports, we would sit down, or have a conversation with you, kind of identify what the report is that you're wanting built, and then we'll estimate how much time it takes at that point. There's not any kind of standard amount that we say, okay, we'll build 5 reports for this fixed price amount, because depending on the complexities of the reports, as to how much time it may take. But we definitely would be able to provide an estimate of hours, and then that would be a time and materials type of billing for you.
All right, thanks, Angela.
And
does the run-only subscription allow all user types to view the reports?
Yes.
Let's see, and then looks like the last question right now. If anybody has any other questions, please submit them right now on the Q&A panel. We have a question about, if I'm using Advanced Audit Trail, is Interactive Custom Report Writer HIPAA compliant?
So currently it is not supported by Intacct within Interactive Custom Report Writer. So if you are using the Advanced Audit Trail, the HIPAA compliance is not supported within these reports.
I don't see any
additional questions.
I don't see any other questions right now, but again, if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to Deanna, and she will either answer the question or find the right resource. Thank you, Angela, for presenting today. I know we covered a lot of content, and we'll be sending out an email in the next couple of days with the links to the recording and presentation. And it also will include a survey, and we'd love to get your feedback on it. But thanks again for everybody attending, and we hope you have a great day.